doing our thing, joined by Brenden Nunes, and really excited for what's going down tonight. Brenden, you were at the shoot-around for both teams? You made it to both?
Yeah, made it to both.
Okay, give us the vibe on how everybody's feeling. And, was there a little – I said yesterday coming out of practice, sounded like these guys had a quiet confidence. And me and you, we spoke yesterday about how much they were kind of obsessing over not getting into the half court. What were your takeaways from shoot-around today?
Yeah, I would say that, similar things to what we've heard at practice over the last few days. Obviously, Dallas going a double big lineup. I think that rebounding and pace are extremely big for this Sacramento team's potential success tonight. But it's very much a playing game. Like, anything can happen. This is a Game 7 scenario is essentially how everybody is treating it. And while I will say, talking to some people that cover the Mavs, I think that they're ready to get to Cancun. You got to actually take care of business before we move on to Memphis.
Yeah, it does seem like they want to be put out of their misery. But someone has to do it.
Well, the Kings might have like a somewhat similar feeling, right? Like Dallas is one extreme, but yeah. I'm not so sure that there's not some people on the Kings side that don't feel the same way.
No, you can make that argument for sure. And I would say this. There is more pride. I wouldn't say the Kings have more pride than the Mavs. I do think as far as what they have to play for, there is more to play for. The Mavs, they know everything is cooked. The Kings, yeah, they're missing Malik Monk and Jake LaRavia, but they still have their legit pieces. And I've continued to say this. When you look at what Domantas Sabonis might say to the organization this summer, DeMar DeRozan is in his mid-30s, on his way to his late 30s. Zach LaVine and his contract situation, how that's viewed. They have a lot to play for as far as just respect. And from a timing perspective, you don't really have time to waste. DeMar DeRozan, he might not be in the situation that he signed up for, but he doesn't have time to just cook this season and see what happens next season. There's an opportunity right in front of your face. You got a reeling Mavs team. You got a reeling Grizzlies team. Go in there, see what happens against an OKC team that is still fairly inexperienced. I don't think it's even close between the Mavs and the Kings as far as their Cancun mentality.
I would agree. I mean, the Kings definitely have more to play for. Like, Dallas is the definition of a blank show.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And AD has played, 9 games with this team. It's hard to get a gauge of what the heck is going on with that team, to be honest. Like, sure, there's the Clay went 0 of 10 in this building last year in a play-in, and I'm expecting him to let it fly. I don't know if that's going to be a good or bad thing for the Kings/Mavericks. That could go one of two ways in my mind. He's going to let it fly. He's going to let it fly. I'm definitely expecting that. But to your point, I think the Kings do have a little bit more to prove. Like, Zach LaVine is trying to be like, hey, listen, I'm the guy on this team now, DeMar DeRozan and Domantas Sabonis. Even if those guys happen to be gone next year, guess what? Like, you're playing for your trade value. Exactly. If that is how you feel, big if, right? Then that's what you're playing for right now. And it means something. So, yeah, I would definitely say that while Dallas leans very much into the, 1, 2, 3 Cancun, they're probably counting down. I think the Kings have more to play for now.
And here's the other thing, too. When it comes to Domantas Sabonis, yesterday we spoke about Bill Simmons now putting Ivica Zubac over Domantas Sabonis. So he has him. What's that face?
I don't know if I disagree.
Come on now. Brenden.
He's kind of nice, bro.
Okay, you putting Şengün? You putting Şengün over him too?
No, I don't know about Şengün.
Where is Domantas Sabonis?
Jaren Jackson Jr.?
I just think they're rubbing shoulders. Domantas
Sabonis and Ivica Zubac.
Yes. Well, okay. Let me also say, I am speaking from a salary considered standpoint.
Okay.
Would you rather have Ivica Zubac?
Yes, I know where this is going.
I can't off the top of my brain tell you what his deal is, but it is significantly less than Domas's. And to be honest,
but that's
a hot take. I'd rather have that guy on my team with his deal.
But Brenden, that's a different conversation.
You're not wrong.
That's a different because that's
valid. But who's straight up better? I think it's a very close discussion.
With that being said, Domantas Sabonis has an opportunity to make something happen in the postseason, which is kind of, been his bugaboo these last couple of years after the whole Kevon Looney situation. So all these guys have something to play for, or I could name off multiple guys. Keegan Murray, his extension situation. Yep. Keon Ellis, his contract situation. So there should be a level of pride, if not for that actual team, for yourself.
I mean, I think there's also an aspect of like, listen, some of these dudes on these teams, on this team, were pushing for Mike Brown to get fired, to be honest. And hey, you got what you wanted.
Preach.
So prove that it was the right decision.
Yeah.
You know, and like you're a big fan of Doug, then go out and put on a show for Doug Christie. So 100%. I definitely agree with you. I think these dudes have a lot to play for. That wasn't meant to be a shot at Domas. That was more so me hyping up Zubac, who I think is a ridiculously good player in this
league. $18 million next year.
Hey, he's got the second most post-ups in the league after Nikola Jokic. That is nuts. I think he's going to win Most Improved.
The guy gets a push shot, and all of a sudden he's better than DeMonte.
He's Rashawn Holmes out here? Is that what you're saying?
This is insane to me. He had a great season. Let me know when he does it year after year after year, like DeMontis Sabonis.
Right. Might not have to. 3-year, $60 million contract.
Okay, well, let's do the thing. Put Domas on the Clippers. Are they better?
I think we're about the same.
This is crazy.
I don't know if there's that much of a difference.
This is crazy. This is why
it's inverse too. Zubac on this team instead of Domas, are they worse? Exactly.
A little bit.
Exactly. Maybe a little bit.
They'd be in Dallas tonight.
I could see that. I do think, by the way, we got some white shirts. I can show I can show a little bit of the audience here
go on the
YouTube side. We got some Feel the Roar shirts throughout the stadium. Hopefully
hold on.
This works all right here.
There you go.
Are we able to see that here on the YouTube side? Everybody, there is a white Feel the Roar shirt that's going on throughout the entire stadium.
And you better wear them.
I'm going to say, though, I think Dallas is wearing white tonight.
Great.
And we're going white out in Golden One. I'm not sure about that, but a little interesting.
You better wear them. Real fans wear the shirts.
Right.
You don't want to be those fans that don't wear the shirts.
I agree. You got to fully commit.
You got to wear the shirts. You got to wear the shirts. Real quick, Warriors Grizzlies last night. We watched the game together.
We did.
And I thought we were in the Bay Area. With all those Warrior fans. That was embarrassing.
Kyle, how much did he talk about the guy that was at the place with us last time we were watching this game?
He hasn't said anything yet.
He was either a degenerate gambler or a transplant from the Bay. But this guy was losing it in the second quarter.
Honestly, he was like the greatest entertainment that I've ever seen in my life last night while we were out watching this game. But good entertainment value from that game for sure. I think that selfishly, I would have preferred the Kings play the Warriors just from the straight entertainment value, but I do think that they have better odds against the Grizzlies.
Yes, after you saw that last night, you're thinking, get the Warriors out of here.
Yeah, that's essentially where I'm at. And hot take, I think the Kings are making it out of the play-in. But my other side of that is, as backwards as it sounds, I think I shared this with you yesterday, is that the fact that I think they're going to win makes me think they're going to lose.
Yeah.
As backwards as that is.
The old Riddler situation.
Yep.
I don't know, man. And let's take it there. Obviously, the Kings got to take care of business tonight against the Cancun Mavericks. When you watched the Grizzlies last night, did it make you feel more confident in the Kings or less? Because I will say this. They easily could have laid down last night when it was rocking out there and the Warriors were rolling early. The fact that they did come back and not lay down made me feel like, okay, there's a level of respect here, and this is not going to – they didn't look like a reeling team who just fired their coach for majority of that game last night.
Yeah, they have looked a little questionable for most of the end of the season, so I'm still going to hold more on to that than maybe their play-in efforts in that one game off. That's the weird thing about the play-in here is that legit anything could happen.
Right.
Like
and
Steph could have made 2 threes last night, and that's a whole different game.
Well, and they got up. Well, it just didn't feel like defending him. He made 6. And obviously they have that whatever's left of that rivalry. So you could feel less confident because of how the Grizzlies played, or more confident because that's probably the best the Grizzlies will play.
Yeah, I think it's kind of somewhere in between, but more so of the former. Like, this is still single elimination basketball when it comes down to it. This is the reason people love March Madness, because it is the most unpredictable thing imaginable. And this year's March Madness might not be the greatest example with every 1 seed eventually advancing there, but it's hard to gauge, man. I continue to stand on, I think that turnovers, pace, and rebounding are the keys to tonight's game.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, while I think it's a key to tonight against Dallas, I think that's just the key to the Sacramento Kings in general, specifically with turnovers and pace, something that's extremely important for this team. And when they look at their best, but also DeMar DeRozan had his highest scoring game as a member of the Kings against the Mavericks. That was an overtime game where he hit the game winner, if you'll remember. And there's a part of me that, while I'll say, I think that pace plays into their favor, you get in a half-court setting, we might see a lot of DeMar middies tonight.
Yeah.
With all the rim protection that Dallas has going on.
Well, that was the game where DeMar split the two, right?
Yes.
Okay.
While Zach may or may not have been wide open right next to him.
It doesn't matter.
Hey, he made it.
Going back real quick, though, just because that Clippers game when Trey Lyles was open.
Yeah.
What do you think the play was? Was it just DeMar just shoot it regardless? I mean, Trey was wide open.
Trey was pretty open. I guess that's probably the way you go. I don't know. I mean, when you only have a couple seconds left in a game like that, I think that you're lucky if you don't get a chaotic last possession.
Yes.
So for the most part, it takes a mistake from the defense, I think, for you to get a good look. And the Clippers, have a little bit more of a questionable offense. They rely fully on James Harden and Kawhi Leonard there, but their defense is their staples. So I would honestly say I think that's more credit to the Clippers defense rather than Sacramento maybe not executing that correctly.
How confident are you in Doug Christie getting it done?
Decently, I guess. Again, I think the main feeling here is that I think Dallas wants to go home, man. Like, I think Dallas has had a ridiculously long season. It's hard to make sense of everything that has happened here. And honestly, if Dallas, Phoenix, and Philly didn't have these years, I think the Kings would get a lot more ridiculed that, to be blunt, I think they honestly kind of deserve.
Yeah.
But, hey, you're facing off a team that straight up just had a way worse year than you, and I think that they're ready to get out of here. So it's not always going to be that simple. Clay went 0 of 10 in this building in his last game as a Warrior last year. I'm sure that he's going to have a little bit of juice to him. So we'll see how this kind of all plays out. But I feel decent about the Kings' chances while also keeping in mind that, hey, if you have 17 turnovers tonight, you're going to lose this game.
Is there any fear that you have that a win could actually set the Kings back because you could do the whole we were close thing, right? Some people that might want to lose the battle to win the war with this whole mediocrity situation and just being stuck in the middle. If you lose tonight, couldn't you say that Vivek's hands would be more tied to try something else rather than I've said worst case scenario, and this is kind of Captain Obvious, but worst case scenario is winning tonight and losing Friday.
Right.
That is the worst case scenario.
Well, I'll argue the worst case is just losing tonight, to be fair, but I definitely get your point here. I unfortunately do think that I have a sense of worry that they make the playoffs. I feel like I've been saying this. I don't know if I've said this on air, but I've said this to you, Chris Frankie, sort of in private, that I have a lot of worry that this team is going to make the postseason and get swept by the Thunder, but they're going to be up at halftime in 2 of these games, and they're going to hold on to that for all of next year. We're going to be like, hey, OKC made the finals, man.
Right.
We had a chance in 2 of these games. There was no Malik. Jake LaRavia wasn't playing. And I'm going to have to tell everybody, and everybody's going to hate me, to be like, listen, we were not that close.
Right.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
So, honestly, as much as I would love for the city to experience postseason, I guess we're already in postseason, but playoff basketball, I feel kind of messed up. I don't honestly feel like this team deserves it.
Yeah.
Like, I think that this was a chaotic season, and they're 8 games behind the 8th seed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know that you can confidently be like, hey, this team deserved to make the playoffs.
Right. And then they beat an even worse team. This is what's going to happen. They beat an even worse team tonight, and we're going to do the thing where it's, hey,
it's the battle of who fumbled Luka batter.
Right. Momentum shifting.
Yep.
You can, the Grizzlies are on the way down where, honestly, in the larger perspective, you're asking for peanuts. We're talking about peanuts here when we're just talking about going to the playoffs. And that's why we continue to say, if your goal is to make it to the playoffs, you're going to keep finding yourself in this position. At some point, the expectations have to change. And if they do get to the playoffs, I don't think they will change. I don't think the expectations will change if they win tonight, to be honest with you, because as long as they don't get their what's kicked in Memphis, I think we could hear the same thing. No Malik, no Jake LaRavia.
Right.
If they get their doors blown off in Memphis, then I think it would be pretty similar to losing tonight.
I would agree, and I don't think it should matter as much as I expect it to.
That's exactly right.
Because we're talking about single elimination basketball. This team is ridiculously good when I don't have the number in front of me, but Frankie outlined it on our show yesterday. When they shoot above 40% from three, ridiculous record.
Yeah.
Which, sure, that, very black and white. You can say that about every team in the NBA probably, but like, I just don't honestly think that this is a very cohesive group. I think that they are a collection of talent that is not optimized. And so I have a lot of questions about this team, and I do have a sense of worry that they get false confidence from a game or two where anything could happen, and really you're not learning anything about your team from one game. No matter what that game is. Like
I'm pretty sure it was 21-6 or something ridiculous
something like that. Yeah.
And they've shot the three ball 38% against the Mavs. So we'll see. Obviously, it's a very tough situation. You want the Kings to win, but you just don't want this to continue. And you should be able to have both, right? You should be able to get to the playoffs and still realize, hey, that shouldn't be your goal, right? You should want more than that. And Boogie Cousins spoke to that. We're way over time. That's because Brenden always has great stuff to say. Brenden, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you tonight. I'm sure you're running around. You got to get home. You got to get back. You got to do a bunch of stuff. So thank you for joining us, and we will be right back continuing to break down all things Sacramento Kings. How can they get it done tonight? Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.